A reading from the book of Genesis. We'll be reading Genesis chapter 21, verses 1 through 12. The Lord took note of Sarah, as he had said he would. He did for her as he had promised. Sarah became pregnant and bore Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time that God had stated. Abraham gave the name Isaac to his son, to this son of his, whom Sarah bore him. When his son Isaac was 8 days old, Abraham circumcised him as God had commanded. Abraham was 100 years old when his son Isaac was born to him. Sarah then said, "God has given me cause to laugh, and all who hear of it will laugh with me. Who would have told Abraham," she added, "that Sarah would nurse children? Yet I have borne him a son in his old age." Isaac grew, and on the day of the child's weaning, Abraham held a great feast. Sarah noticed the son whom Hagar the Egyptian had borne to Abraham playing with her son Isaac. So she demanded of Abraham, "Drive out that slave and her son. No son of that slave is going to share the inheritance with my son Isaac." Abraham was greatly distressed, especially on account of his son Ishmael. But God said to Abraham, "Do not be distressed with the boy or about your slave woman. Heed the demands of Sarah, no matter what she is asking of you, for it is through Isaac that the descendants shall bear your name." This is a hard passage because we see there is joy, there is celebration that comes from God, and there is misery that is coming from men. The first wickedness was on the behalf of Sarah, who suggested to her husband Abraham that he should have relations with her slave woman Hagar and bear a son through her that Sarah would catch on her own lap. This was a dehumanizing act for Sarah, for Abraham, and especially for Hagar. That Hagar was merely a tool, merely an instrument. Sarah and Abraham did not trust in God, and so instead they looked after their own ways and they gave birth to Ishmael. They gave birth to Ishmael because of their own lack of trust. Then we see once God still fulfills his promise, God is faithful even when we're unfaithful. So when God still fulfills his promise to Abraham and to Sarah, then Sarah becomes jealous of the son who she said, "Bear him in my lap." The one that she had promised to take care of, the one that she had promised to make her heir, to make her son, because she said, "Now I have my own son. I do not care about this other boy. I do not care about this one who I said I would care about. I do not care about this one who I said I would make my heir, my son." Abraham has trouble with the idea as well. And honestly, I'm not sure. I'm not sure why God said to Abraham, "Do not be distressed about the boy or about your slave woman." Maybe it is because God had a plan for them. God met them in the well. An angel appeared to them, and God made them promises. as well, God brought them out of this situation of slavery, of second-class citizenship, to become their own people, to have their own success and track. This would be my thought. In addition to that, we see this idea of slavery, particularly of a slavery of Hagar, where she would either feel that she has some advantage or more likely be forced to sleep with her master. That she would be, as it were, abused by him, raped by him. And so again, we see what happens with this sin. That even when Abraham and Sarah get everything they want in their own way, they still cast it off. That even though they thought that they could get everything by sin, they got nothing. They got nothing by sin. And what they had thought would be a joy to them became a distress to them. And it is a shame on both of their names. Even though Abraham is exalted as a prophet, as a father, a patriarch, and as Sarah is exalted as a matriarch, yet she has this shame on her name, and he has this shame on his name. This thing that they did which was evil, which was against the plan of God. So often we choose our own selfishness, our own way, rather than choosing the way of God. And when we do that, we find that it does not bring us joy, but it brings us trouble. So I would ask each one of us that if God is going to give us a blessing, let him give us a blessing in his way. Let us not seek our own ends, our own means, our own selfishness, our own wills, but rather let us dedicate ourselves to the will of God, to the love of God,